Take a deep breath in and let it go. Deep breath. Let it go. One more together, breathing in and letting go. Well, my friends, it's been another week. One that went by like that for me. I don't know about you. Goodness gracious. What interesting moment we are all moving through. Both just in our little community right here, and also in our community of our nation, the community of our planet. We are moving through an incredibly difficult time of transition, of change, and of transformation. And our theme this month is something like the ebb and flow of coming and going. And it's really all about how we work with the energy, how we work with the life force, how we work with what we have, and how we move that energy, how we maintain and hold our own energy. And the first thought that came to me as I've been contemplating this is really about how we hold the energy of our center, how we stay grounded when everything around us tends to feel like it makes us want to crawl away or move or fall or pivot or whatever it is. And, I talked to you all a couple weeks ago about our beloved friend Eric Randall, right, and his journey through cancer and into the end of his life transition. And the amount of times I sat with Eric as he was in the difficulty of the experience of his dis-ease, and he would talk to me about how important it was for him to find his center. That even when his body, even when the conditions were difficult, that it was important for him to maintain that energetic center and say, where is my center point? Where's my place of balance? Where's my place of love? Where's my place of focus? Even in the midst of what felt like dis-ease, pain, and struggle. And I think there's a powerful lesson there for all of us to, as we go through whatever conditions we're experiencing, right, to realize that there's a center place within us that is untouched by what is happening to us. Right, that there's something within us, a power within us that is greater than any of the conditions that are coming at us or surrounding us or overwhelming us. Right, and so it's important for all of us to find the way. How do you know when you're in your center place? How do you know when you're grounded? How do you know when you are unmovable? And how do you hold that for yourself? Because I'll tell you, in the last couple weeks, I've been spinning out. I've been having a hard time holding and finding and maintaining my center place. Because there's so much to take me out of it. There's so much to take my attention. There's so much coming at me and each one of us that it's hard to stay focused. Right? And as someone who attempts to stay as politically informed as possible, I find myself checking out. Right? I find myself overwhelmed by every time I look at the news, every time I look at what's coming out of Washington, D.C., every time I see a new thing that these people are doing, my jaw drops, I pick it up off the floor, and I come back to myself, right? But we've seen just in the last week the treatment of Vladimir Zelensky and this proposal to deport Ukrainian refugees, right? The unleashing of logging onto our national parks. Right? The erasure of non-binary and trans identities. There's a lot coming at us. And I want to give credit to Reverend David Alexander of the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta because I've been reaching out and listening to a lot of my colleagues and how are they speaking to what's happening right now. And I got a new thought this week. I know, we're part of the New Thought movement. Great. Suddenly a new thought comes around every once in a while. Fantastic. But I heard Reverend David talking about this idea that we teach in this philosophy often about resistance. And many of us have probably heard this phrase in the metaphysical or New Thought communities, what you resist persists, right? And so sometimes we may have interpreted this as saying, don't resist things, because if I resist something, it will persist. And Reverend David explained that that concept that we use in New Thought actually comes from Jungian psychology, from Carl Jung. And he was actually talking about when you engage with the shadow. And he said, when you engage with the shadow, that which you repress grows. So that took me on a little mind journey. Because I said, wait a minute, if what resists persists, if what you repress grows, what happens when you are what is being resisted? What happens when you are what is being repressed? Because if what resists persists, and we are being resisted against trans identities, non-binary identities, immigrants, the planet, nature, is being repressed. And if what resists persists, we are the resistance. Right? And so as these forces are coming, what I feel like maybe outside of us that are trying to erase our identities, damage our communities, infiltrate our minds, and they're pushing against, because what is rising up is our unity. What is rising up is our diversity. What is rising up is our power. What is rising up is our oneness. Right? And so these forces from outside of us are pushing down on us, and as I've shared with you the Mexican proverb that says they tried to bury us, but they didn't know we were seeds. Right? And the great thing about certain kinds of seeds, right, if you want to sprout sunflower seeds, they need pressure and darkness. If you just put them in water, they won't sprout. They need something to push down on them, to make it dark and uncomfortable, so that those seeds sprout. Right? There are certain kinds of seeds and certain kind of forests that only sprout when they've been burnt. Right? So there are seeds, there is potential that emerges in the forest that says we are the seeds of the new forest, we are the seeds of possibility, we are the seeds of the new way of being, and they just lay dormant and quiet and invisible and unseen on the forest floor until the entire forest is burnt down, and suddenly those seeds are awakened. And they sprout. And in the cataclysm, new life emerges. New possibility springs forth. So think about that. What if we're the seeds? And what if all that's coming at us is actually waking us up? It's giving us all of the conditions we need to sprout, to grow that new forest of possibility, to step into a new kind of interconnection, to emerge a new kind of spiritual magnificence that is the full, unleashed, diverse, beautiful, intricate expression that lives in each person. Right? Our philosophy here tells us that everyone and everything is the divine, that we are all God, that it is the light of the universe shining through each one of our eyes. So what if that's what's waking up within us right now? You know, and there's this other phrase that we hear in Science of Mind that comes from our founder, Ernest Holmes, where he says that we are to be a people who are for something and against nothing. Also a phrase I think is often misinterpreted. But I've been thinking about that phrase as well, and then again, I look to what's happening in our nation, and I realize that what we see in our government and in the so-called leaders of this country we live in is a people who are for nothing and against everything. I know totally and completely what they are against. I have no clue what they are for. Right? And so for us to take that in and say, okay, you know what? We need to be as clear about what we are for as they are clear about what they are against. Right? And I listened to my friend and colleague, Reverend Derica Blackman from the East Bay Church of Religious Science in Oakland, and she said, you know what? She said to her community a couple weeks ago, she said, you know what? I'm not mad. I'm not mad about what's happening in this country. You know what I am? I am clear. that whatever has come at us, whatever has shaken us awake or pissed us off or opened our eyes up, all the stuff that's coming at us, say, how could that possibly be? Guess what? You have been gifted clarity. Now we are, each and every one of us, getting much clearer about what is sacred, about what we stand for, about who we stand with, about what is important to fight for and to love for. We're becoming more unambiguous in our stance. It's a good thing we've been affirming that for a while. Clarity is a gift. And I say often, nothing is happening to us. Everything is happening for us. And if everything is happening for us, if the Spirit of the living God and the powers that have spun all of evolution and creativity and creation are at work in our lives right now, then everything that's unfolding is for something. Right? That forest fire that comes through to wake up those little seeds, that fire comes through for something, but it often looks like destruction. Right? We know from the history of evolution that every time a major leap in evolution has happened, it has been preceded by absolute crisis. And if that's true in biology and evolution and has been consistent for billions of years, I imagine it's probably true for us too. And so this moment that feels like a moment of crisis, and I think we should treat it as if it is, this is a moment of crisis. How are we going to act? How are we going to be when we are so clear and so lit up about what we believe in, about what is sacred, about what we are protecting, about what we stand for and live for? We suddenly have a newly awakened power to create with. And I need us to continue to do our work. Do your spiritual homework. Clean up your side of the table. Every one of us, right? Because if we show up to the fight with all of our baggage and all of our unhealed stuff, we're going to get consumed by the fight. The fear and the hatred and the anger will come in. Hello, little one. And so let everything that feels like it's falling away, let everything that feels like it's bringing up the fear and the confusion and the anger and the frustration, let all of it be an invitation to your clarity. And then let it spark and sprout the buds of possibility. Because if what we don't want informs us about what we do want, then we can start to paint a picture of the world we want to live in, of the people we want to be, of the kind of community we want to hold, of the kind of care we want to offer for each other. And what would it look like if we all lived in a way that we honored and respected the spiritual magnificence of each person in the brilliant spectrum of diversity that humans come in? We can celebrate this truth of who we are. We can celebrate the possible. We can be the seeds of a new world, of a new vision, of a new way of being. But we may have to go through the fire. We may have to be buried in the darkness in order to wake up. But that's where the magic happens. And that's where perhaps we learn to get out of the way enough to let God do something. Because oftentimes we stand in the way of the divine. And maybe each one of us has been sent here for this moment. To be here right now. That everything before now we were getting ready. Tell you all the time, we do spiritual practice for the divine tests. And the exam is upon us. Right? And I say it, I've said this many times, we are living through what I'm beginning to call the proving times, where we get to prove to ourselves what we believe. at the same time that the universe is reflecting back to us who we are and what we believe on a mass scale, where nothing is hidden anymore. Everything is rising up to be seen. But now that it's in our eyes, now that we see it, we can get clear. We can get activated. We can come together, and we can dream of what's possible. So take a deep breath in and let it go. Let's ground into this together. Take another deep breath in and let go. One more collective breath. Breathe in and let it go. And as our rhythm of our breathing moves from unison into harmony, I remind each one of us that we are being breathed by something greater than we are. That it is the Spirit of the living God, the mind of the universe itself, that is looking through our eyes, hearing through our ears, speaking and acting as us. And so let's just breathe a little deeper into the great seamlessness, into the knowing that there is only one life, that there is a great power greater than any conditions, greater than any circumstance. There is a great unity that lives and breathes throughout the entirety of the universe, and that this one is expressing through a multitude of ways in an extravagant diversity, as all of life, as all of humanity, completely unbound. The expression is limitless. And so I just speak a word for each one of us today that we contact that divine center, that we remember that there is a deep and sacred place within us that is unmovable, that even if we're not aware of it, that center, unmovable, untouchable place, that infinite space where love and light resides, is the core of who we are. That the very fabric of existence, every particle, all of it is light. And so let us become a little bit more awake today. Let us allow everything that is coming at us, all the conditions, all of the concerns, all of the struggle, let all of it be here for us, for our awakening, for our activation, for our clarity. So that we, each one of us, become revealers of truth, revealers of love, revealers of justice, revealers of wholeness, revealers of love, revealers of compassion. Let each one of us be the place where God is showing up, and showing up on behalf of that Spirit of the living God in the least of these. So let us look for the divine in each other. Let us hold each other. Let us lift each other up as we get ever clearer about who we are and what we are for. That we learn to stand up a little stronger. That we let the fires and the chaos of this world be the conditions that we've been waiting for to be who we came here to be. And so I know that something powerful is quaking and waking beneath the surface of our consciousness. That there is a movement of unity and of oneness, of justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. We are here to fight the good fight, my friends. We are here to live in love. We are here to awaken ourselves and all of humanity to our spiritual magnificence. Because I hold a vision of a world that works for all. A world of mutual support and care. A world of absolute celebration of individualism and diversity and love. So I just speak my gratitude for this beloved community and for each one of us here as we continue to come together and build this collective consciousness, activate ourselves, and lean into each other. I'm grateful. And so I invite us into another deep breath. Remembering yet again that there's a power for good in this universe so much greater than we are, and yet it is who we are. Let it breathe us. Let it live in us. Let us surrender to it. Let us surrender to what is. Let us open and allow. Let's get out of the way and let the Spirit of the infinite work through us. And so we breathe, we let go, we let God, we let love, we let it be. And so it is.